welcome back to C2 Novel and Vocab Week 16. And this is for our phrases. So if you haven't watched the vocabulary, please go watch the vocabulary first and then watch this. Or you can watch this first, it doesn't matter. So let's get started. Today, we'll be looking at difficult phrases from our novel Skinnybones. And this is to help with cultural fluency. By becoming familiarized with different slang and colloquialisms, students will be able to relate to the novel and incorporate, which means use, these phrases to convey or show your ideas more precisely. So you can use these phrases in everyday life when you're talking to your friends, maybe some other people in 3rd grade at MI, and you guys can see who understands. Okay, so today we'll be going over Skinnybones chapters 10 through 12. So, as you're reading, I also hope that you are highlighting some words that you don't know or some phrases that you don't know so that you can go back and look at them. Like my book has all of these highlights. So, let's get started. We have our first quote, and it is here on page 88. So, can everybody please go to page 88. I will go to page 88 too. At the bottom, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th indent. TJ grinned. Then he wound up and threw the ball as hard as he could. Strike one, yelled the umpire. So what does it mean to wound up? Look at this picture here. What is this picture doing? That's called winding up. In the context of baseball, winding up refers to the motion a pitcher makes before throwing the ball. Like here. It involves a series of motions, usually moving or rotating the body, raising the arm, and to generate a lot of power and momentum for the pitch. The pitcher winds up to build his energy, and it is to deliver the ball with greater speed and accuracy. The phrase wound up in this context here is likely originated from a mechanical winding motion. So the pitcher goes through some kind of motion before releasing the ball. So this term has been used in baseball for a really long time, and it has become a standard way to describe the preparation movements that the pitcher makes before a pitch. And here, strike one. The word is actually just strike, S-T-R-I-K-E, meaning that it's one strike. Well, three strikes, you're out, right? So here, why is it spelled this way? It is because it is to show that the umpire is yelling it like strike one, and he's like calling it out. Okay, strike one, like this umpire here. Strike one. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Strike one and wound up. Let's go to page 92. I just closed my book. Are you there? I hope so. I'll read from the very top. Okay. No, Frankie, I'm encouraging you. I explained, it's baseball chatter. I'm supposed to chatter. The whole team is supposed to chatter. Frankie rolled his eyes. Get a clue, Alex. This is not a normal game, and we are not a normal team. And I do not respond well to chatter. So here, get a clue. This is when what's his name? Frankie was, pitching for the team, and he was a bit nervous. It was the start of the game, and he wasn't pitching so well. And Alex kept talking. So here, Frankie was basically saying, get a clue. Get a clue is an idiom that means to understand or realize something. So in this context here, Frankie is telling Alex to understand and realize that the game that they're playing and that the game or the team that they're on is not very ordinary, because remember, there's the TV show people are there and everything. So Frankie is expressing frustration with Alex's behavior and it's basically saying, wake up and understand what's going on. Get a clue. Sorry, that's my rice maker. So imagine if you're playing a special game and one of your friends wasn't paying attention or was acting like they don't really care about it. You might go to them and say, get a clue. It's like telling them to understand what's going on. Like, wake up. Can you understand what's going on? Get a clue. Because clues help us solve a mystery. Get a clue. So, as that quote was just finishing, he said another sentence. So let's go back to where we just stopped. And I did not respond well to chatter. And then Frankie says, so put a sock in it, okay? Put a sock where? Why am I putting a sock somewhere all of a sudden? I'm playing baseball, right? No. Put a sock in it is an idiom that means to stop talking or stop making noise. It's a way of telling someone to be quiet or to stop talking, especially because it's a bit bothering or bothersome and unnecessary and a bit annoying, as you can say. So the origin of this phrase is still a bit unclear from my research, but it is likely to come from the early sound recording studios. So in the early days of recording sound could be too loud or distorted, like meh, meh, meh. So musicians would sometimes place a sock or a piece of cloth in a horn, like a big horn, of the recording device to muffle, to make the sound to make it sound a little bit smaller, to make the sound decrease. So put a sock in it may have originated from the actual when people were doing this for recording noises. But in the quote here, it's basically just saying, stop talking, stop making noise, okay? It's a straightforward and kind of informal, kind of rude way of telling someone to be quiet. So you don't want to say this to everyone and be like, oh, can you please put a sock in it? It sounds a bit rude, so you just want to say, please be quiet. But if you're close to that friend and you just want to be joking around, maybe you can, as long as their feelings don't get hurt. All right, let's go to page 94. Let's go. I'll read from the first indent, okay? Are you on page 94? Good. I did not, I shout back at him. How can a person drop something when he didn't even catch it in the first place? Just because something lands on your head does not mean you caught it. It does too, shouted Frankie. You caught it on your head and then you dropped it. Man, was I ticked. I kicked at my glove. So here, was I ticked? What does that mean? This expression is a colloquial way of saying that someone was very annoyed, angry, or upset about something. In this context here, the character, which is, yes, Alex, is expressing his frustration and anger because he was trying to, block the sun because he couldn't see, but then so the pop fly ball, it landed on his hand and then it fell off, right? And then Frankie's like yelling at him and whatnot. So he's saying, wow, was I ticked? But here, what is colloquial language before we move on? I said it in our introduction also. It's the way that people talk in everyday casual conversations. It's like having your own set of words or expressions that might not be used in a formal setting, like school or presentation. So here, in this context, ticked is to be very irritated, agitated, angry. So when someone says, man, was I ticked? They're trying to show that they're very angry or their sense of displeasure or frustration about the situation. Usually some other people can say, oh, I was really ticked off or I was ticked. This means the same thing as was I ticked, as in meaning, oh, I was really angry. Okay, so here, maybe if you were to say, put a sock in it to someone, and then someone can be like, oh man, was I ticked when that person told me to be quiet in that mean way. Okay, let's go. Page 96. 1, 2, 3. Around like the third big indent, I'll read from there. It says the crowd on page 96. The crowd went wild. TJ was on his way to an inside the park home run, and he wasn't even hurrying. I watched him as he rounded second base. He looked over his shoulder at me and tipped his cap. Man, did he make me sick! Tipped his cap. Here, as you can see in this picture, tipping a cap is a gesture from a long time ago and in baseball where a player raises the brim of the baseball cap, as you can see in the second picture. And it's a sign of saying, okay, hey, or respect, or courtesy, or just acknowledging someone. It's a traditional and polite way for a player to acknowledge the crowd, or the other team, or maybe your own teammate saying, good job. But here, why is it funny, or why is it making him feel sick for TJ tipping his cap at him? It's because Alex feels upset or annoyed because TJ is tipping his cap. It's humorous because tipping your cap is usually a positive and sportsmanlike gesture, being nice. But here the narrator acts very negatively to it, right? It's because basically TJ is saying, hey, thanks for missing the pop fly. Now because of you, I can make this great home run and look really cool. So he was tipping his cap at TJ. TJ was tipping his cap at Alex. So Alex was like, I helped him get a home run. All right, page 99. This is what the umpire says. At the very bottom, okay, it says, the umpire told me to watch myself, pal. Why? Because here, just before he was saying, why do umpires always yell strike so loud, do you think? He asked the umpire, and the umpire was telling him to watch yourself, pal. So really, the umpire would have said, watch yourself, pal. And this is an expression that essentially means be careful, or mind your behavior, or you're not doing so well right now, so better change it. In the context, the umpire is giving a warning to Alex, telling them to be cautious or to behave appropriately. So basically, stop asking questions. The use pal is a colloquial term for friend or buddy, and it's often used in an informal way. But here, because the umpire is saying it to a younger Alex Frankovich, it carries a bit slightly stern or cautionary tone. So the umpire is basically telling Alex to be mindful of your actions, to avoid any issues or penalties in the game. And so this has been used for a very, very long time, like watch yourself. But the reason why it was changed to watch myself is because Alex is, talking to himself right now. The umpire told me to watch myself, okay? Basically saying, the umpire said watch yourself, but in his context, he's saying watch myself, to basically change his attitude. Very good. Let's go all the way to page 111. There were a few in the middle that I wanted to talk about, but there are so many. So let's go all the way to 111. And let's go to the bottom. Let's start at the bottom half. It says, I stared. I stared at all that corn on the cob. Yeah, well, there's been a change in my wishes, I said quietly. My wishes now include a chicken dinner from time to time. My father shrugged again. Help yourself. I hurried to the table and picked up my fork. My mother glanced over at me. Chicken? She said. Geez, what was wrong with her anyway? Couldn't she give it a rest? Here, so Alex has been locked up in his room this whole time. He didn't want to come out, and finally he's starving. He comes out to get some dinner. And his parents are eating chicken. And in the context here, chicken is another colloquial and informal way to tease or playfully call someone a chicken. Means that they were saying that they're a person that's being afraid, a hesitant, or not willing to take a risk, or basically a coward. It's common slang where chicken is often associated with someone who is scared or unwilling to do something adventurous or daring. So here, as you know, just before Alex had that whole embarrassment at the game. So he is thinking that his mom is calling him a chicken and calling him a coward, but really she isn't. She's just saying chicken, or like, do you want some chicken? She wasn't saying chicken. So Alex here is kind of just a bit in his head. It's getting to him that he made this mistake at the game with booga booga. Ooh, page 115. This one's a little bit hard to explain, but I'll try my best. Page 115. In the middle. So, it says, I put my hand over my heart. We shared our secrets and our dreams. I thought a moment. Plus, a graham cracker and 2 pretzels, I added quietly. I got my fishnet and scooped him up. Then I ran him into the bathroom and flushed. I watched him swirl. Another $1.50 right down the pot. Here we're talking about his pet fish who had just died. And so he just flushed him down the toilet. And he's just saying another $1.50 right down the pot because he's flushing the fish down, right? What is a $1.50 though? Buck is a slang term for dollar in America. And its mostly widely accepted explanation is that it comes from the use of buckskins, because long time ago, before America had any money, they used to sell and trade buckskin, which is like an animal's skin, like deer skin or anything of like that. So later on, buck basically became synonymous, which means a synonym for a dollar. So $1.50 or a $1.50, which is $1.50. It's about 1500 Korean won. A blue one and a big 500 coin in Korean money. There we go. $1.50. So therefore, if we know what a buck is, then let's go down here on page 119. Later it comes out again. It says, say something nice about me and I'll give you $5 after school. When he was talking to Brian. So $5 would be $5. It's just another easy way to understand how we call money in America. But if you didn't know, then you would have been like, what does this mean? Last one. Let's go to page 131. At the very bottom. So now Alex is all super happy because something great happened at school. I will not tell you because you should have read the story. But here, let's see, at the very bottom it says, and remember. Can you see where I am? Page 131 at the bottom. And remember, if you ever need a favor, you can count on me too. Just look me up in New York or Hollywood. I'll be in the yellow pages under star. So our main character, Alex, has become very famous at the very end because of something that he won. No, not a baseball game. So, what is Yellow Pages? Here we go. Yellow Pages, long time ago, not long time ago, I used to use it, was a telephone directory, which had phone numbers of all these businesses and people and whatnot. And it was used all the time before we had the internet, before YouTube, before Google, before everything. It was categorized in business directory, where businesses listed their services, what they provide, and their phone number. And this was printed on yellow paper. That's why it's called Yellow Pages. So it can be like, for instance, long time ago it would have said Milestone Institute, English Academy, Centum, and then the phone number and what they do. But now we can just look up everything on the internet. So easy, right? So in the quote here, I'll be in the Yellow Pages under star. Alex is saying that he'll be listed in the Yellow Pages as a directory people used under star, which means he is going to be a famous celebrity, vocabulary word, and you can find his name and phone number under the word star. So it was just kind of funny because we don't use this anymore. I don't know if Korea had anything similar to it, but in America, they would print this out. They would bring it to our front door. It was something that we always used. So yes, Yellow Pages. Great. Thank you again for joining me for week 16. It is now your turn. I would like you to reread chapters 10 through 12. See where the phrases came from and see if you were able to understand what I explained in the video. Make sure that you do your novel homework. And week 16 is novel test. So you should reread the whole book if you have time. You should. Or at least review everything. Okay? So I hope you had a good time with me today, explaining the last few chapters of this book. And I will see you guys next week. Good luck on everything.